Yes, lovely listeners. Oh, wow, that rhymed. Welcome back to the Catabolic Window podcast, episode 70. We've got Mr. George Lewinski on the podcast this week. And as usual, we unfortunately have myself and Jack. How you doing, George?
I'm good, Squeezes, lemon squeezes. Did you just say episode number 70?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
I
been
thought
going a long time.
I knew you'd done a lot of podcasts, but I didn't realize you'd done 70. So it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Every week I'm sat there like thinking, fucking hell, can I put myself through another week of this? But I just love Jack too much. I just have to turn up.
Yeah, we're attached to the hip. We just do it to spend time with each other.
Love that. It's just you tell your missus that you're doing like really important work, but you just like chat shit with people for a couple of hours, and it's fucking happy days.
Yeah, she listened to me the other week and she was just sort of like, you just chat shit the entire time. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, George, give everybody a little bit of an introduction to who you are, what you do, and how you sort of got here. And then we'll dive into some very important topics.
Okay, fantastic. So my name is George. How did I get here? Oh God, fucking hell! You put me on the spot. So I run a company called Coach's Corner. We offer business coaching and physique coaching. We're one of those like really, those really like annoying mentors that just go in your DMs and go, "Hi, would you like to earn 10 grand a month?" Yeah, we're basically that guy, but we try to be the opposite because those guys piss us off. Been in the industry now for 7 years. I absolutely love cat videos. I love Japan. They're fucking awesome too. What else do I like? Yeah, I like Chelsea, but we're fucking shit. So let's not talk about that. And I just like being funny, sexy, and cool all of the time, always. So I'm just here to have a great time.
Nice
Fair
intro,
play.
man.
I wrote
Very
it.
tidy,
I wrote
very
it. I'm
tidy.
definitely going to be spamming you with cat memes now, mate. So enjoy that.
Mate, honestly, I fucking last time I went on holiday, I reckon I was in a cat meme hole for about 4 years. 4 years? Fucking hell, that'd be bad.
4 years.
4 years, yeah. I'm actually 32 now. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I fucking love cats. I think they're great.
Mate,
Fair.
I'm also equally addicted to cat memes, even though I have a dog. I grew up around cats. My parents got a cat, so like I will still send cat memes to my girlfriend, and she's like, "You literally have a dog." I'm like, "Yeah, and what? And what? I'm not taking sides here."
You know what? Okay, I'm gonna give you a little hack. All right, you like how long have you guys been in the coaching scene for?
Over 2.5 years.
I think
Okay.
it's been 3 or 4 for me.
So Jack, you've got a dog. You've been in it 3 or 4. Luke, have you got a cat or a dog, or
Yeah, I've got a cat, but she's at home.
you've got a cat at home? Okay, cool. I reckon you can grow your business if you have a cat. Reason being is because cats are just so fucking chill. They take so much less work to look after. You don't have to take them out on walks or fucking give them attention and shit like that. They're just there, and they're just like sometimes they'll just stare at you. And what will happen is, I don't know if you've ever had this having a cat, right? But I can't lie, I'm not a very lazy person, and that's not me blowing my own trumpet. Like I actually do a lot of fucking work. But if my cat's staring at me and I'm not doing work, it kind of makes me feel like a twat. And I'm like, I know I should be doing work. Her name's Coco. And I'm like, I know I should be doing work, Coco. Stop fucking staring at me. And it motivates me to work more. So basically, you should get a cat.
The issue that I've got though is that my cat is a cunt,
Oh,
and she
same.
will come and sit on my laptop.
I'm glad we're allowed to say the word cunt on this podcast because I use that quite a lot. So that's
What
like,
kind of a podcast would it be if
Yeah,
we
exactly.
didn't say cunt?
yeah.
Please don't listen to this, mum.
We should like restart the podcast and go, hello, you bunch of fucking cunts. Welcome back to the cunt cast. Today we have, and then just intro it from there.
Just straight away off the bat.
Yeah, just,
Mate, if that was the name of a podcast, you'd have 1 million listeners in no time.
I actually used to have a podcast and it had 2 episodes because I just like I didn't value it, and it was called the Muscle and MILF podcast. It's on Spotify.
Why'd you call it that? Was that were you the muscle and your co-host was the MILF, or were you the MILF?
I've got to be honest with you, Jack. I love muscles and I love MILFs, so that's why I call it the Muscle and MILF podcast.
I
Yeah,
rate that, man. I rate that.
yeah. But anyway,
I think that takes us fairly nicely into our first topic of conversation. So we had a little bit of controversy in the DMs because I posted a poll the other day about whether, as a guy, you prefer arse or boobs, and George seemed to have some pretty strong opinions about this.
yeah.
So, mate, give us your
Strong
stance.
opinions. All right.
Okay, all right. You want me to start with this, yeah? Okay. So, in my humble opinion, right, no matter which way that you look at this, it's a win-win situation because we're talking about arse and boobs. Who doesn't love arse and boobs, right? They're great. So if you're a girl, congratulations, you're doing a great job. But if we break this down scientifically speaking, I believe it's harder to have an arse because usually there has to be some work that's gone into that. Whereas having boobs is very much like luck of the draw. So for me, it's almost like building a physique. So if you're like building your arms or you're building chest or you're building your abs, there's got to be some work put into that. And generally speaking, there has to be some work put into an arse. And that's for me why I value that higher than boobs.
Respect. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I thought you were
Jack,
going to go down the route of like, because what was it? You started off saying like evolutionarily, didn't you? Or you mentioned evolution.
Evolution, yeah, evolution.
Yeah, I feel like then I thought you were going to go down the route of boobs because it's like, well, you want her to be able to like breastfeed your kids, basically. I thought that was the route you were going to go. So that's an interesting turn.
Yeah.
My answer is the same, but for simple and more vain reasons, and that's pretty much it. But I think that is a good point, though. Like, if it's an interesting one because it's like, well, when you're comparing like the physical attributes of like a woman to a guy, the only thing that we really have is like a six-pack and like how big is your cock, and you can't really impact your cock, so you might as well just get a six-pack and then you're done. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I guess that's like the boobs or arse of men, isn't it? Like, because boobs is just kind of luck of the draw. But even then, like, you can gain weight. Imagine if when you gain weight, you'd cock gain weight. That'd be sick. I'd be like 100. I'd walk around at 100 kilos.
We'd all be 400 pounds.
Yeah, I just get so heavy.
Oh, fuck.
I'm going to have to disagree with both of you for the reason that you spend the majority of the time looking at your girlfriend from the front.
Disagree.
So therefore, you.
You're doing relationships wrong, bro. You spend the majority of time on all fours, therefore.
Fuck's sake.
Welcome to the podcast.
This is heinous. Should we get into some slightly more serious conversation?
Jesus, please.
Well, that was a serious conversation, but sure.
That was important. What are you talking about? Okay, fair enough, mate. So you mentioned you've been in the industry for like 7 years, physique coaching and business mentoring. So what was it that made you want to start physique coaching? But more importantly, like, what do you think makes you different compared to other people?
Good question, man. You know what? How deep do you want to go with this?
As deep as possible.
Deep as possible. Right. You know what, man? For me, like I've said this to a few people. I knew from the age of about maybe 14, 15, I was gonna coach, but I had no idea how. Like, it started off, funnily enough, I wanted to be a PE teacher. That was like my first goal. Then I was like, maybe an English teacher. Then I was like, maybe a golf teacher. Then I broke my spine and I was like, well, this is no fun. Took a little bit of a dive, didn't feel too great. Mental health was a little bit crappy. And then over the years, I kind of allowed things to take a little bit of a back burner. All whilst doing this, I was still training. I was still in the gym. I was still doing that stuff. And funnily enough, I was actually, I was on I think it was like a night out or a festival or something. And I remember just having this like weird epiphany where I was like, I'm doing something I don't want to do, which was greenkeeping. Basically, I was like cutting down trees and cutting grass for a living. So I was like, I'm doing something I don't want to do to earn money to do something that I do want to do. So like follow the gym lifestyle, go to festivals, have fun. So I was like, why not just find something I do want to do, get paid for that, and then continue to do more stuff I want to do. So I turned to my mate and I was like, I'm going to become a PT. He was like, bro, you've not spoken for an hour. What the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a PT. It's going to be great. We're all going to have a great time. So I started getting into that. And my family were like, George, there's no money in it. What are you doing? You're a fucking idiot. And I was like, I don't care. I've always wanted to coach people. I always want to help people. But I'd allowed the injuries to dent my confidence. And I was like, I've got to be honest with you, it probably doesn't seem like it. I had massive social anxiety when I was younger. Huge. I couldn't talk to anyone. I didn't know how the fuck to start a conversation. So I thought, well, if I can't do that, how am I going to coach someone? So I started getting into it, started getting a little bit nerdy, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. That's when I started getting more into like bodybuilding. That's when I'm going to shout him out because he's a G. That's when I started working with AJ Morris. I worked with AJ Morris when, no offense to him if he's listening, he's probably not, but maybe he is. I don't fucking know. But when he looked like he was about 12, that's when I started working with AJ. He was probably about 13, but I don't know. So I started working with him, and he like really ignited a fire within me. And then the more I did it and the more I progressed through it, the more I kind of got to a point where I'm like, and this is where I went online. I was like, my main thing is I just want to fucking help people progress, whatever that looks like. And that later led to, because I was working with more coaches and because I was working with more PTs, and because they were asking me about business and content and clients and shit like that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, man, I'll give you some advice on your business. And then people coming back to me like, shit, it worked. I gained clients, I grew, things are going well. And I'm like, fuck, here's another thing. And you know Kevin, don't you? Kev Gomez. Yeah. I was talking about this the other day, and he was like, "I can guarantee in 10 years you'll be trying to mentor mentors." And I was like, "Yeah, 100%." That's how my brain is. I was like, if I can progress in something, I'll just do it. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Fair play. I rate it.
So you were PT. Did you say you were PTing AJ Morris back in the day?
No, I wish I was. He was so I was PTing and I joined, and literally within a month I thought, I know what I'm doing, but I want to know more what I'm doing. I just want to be smart. So I was like, well, who's good at stuff like this? And I don't even think AJ had competed up. No, actually, no, he had. I feel like he stepped on stage when he was like 18, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, he was pretty young.
Yeah, and I just went straight to him and I was like, right, you've stepped on stage. I want to do that. We can talk about that later or whatever. So I was like, right, I'm going to go work with this dude. And back then, I was literally earning a few $100 a month because I didn't have any clients. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go work with this guy, which literally almost put me in debt. But it's the best decision I ever made. And that year of working with AJ taught me it was just like a good start to it. I got into good routines, I got into good habits. And then the year after that, it was just a case of, right, I want to be the best coach in my gym. Then after that, it was like, right, I want to be the best coach in my area. Then after that, it was like, right, I want to be the best coach possible. And then, just grew from that really. So I think in answer to your question of like how I got into it, it was just kind of the passion for progress and just wanted to be the best I could be at it really.
What do you think it was that took you from like being the best coach in your gym to the best in your area, as you put it, and progressing along that? Like, what were the key things you learned along that journey?
Yeah, so I think for me, right, it was a big part of it was trying to think of the best way I can describe this. So there are different types of brand positioning strategies, right? I'll give an example of this. So if we look like super broad and then we shrink down. If we look super broad and we look to something like Apple, their brand positioning strategy is they're very innovative. So they brought out like touchscreen phones, and then they're like, right, when you walk into our shop, there's going to be like 30 people there that can help you and all these different things. So theirs was done on innovation. Then you look at something like Rolex, and theirs is very much on exclusivity. It's really hard to buy a Rolex. You have to fucking sign up and wait and all that kind of shit. Then you look at someone like a coach as an example. I mean, I shout out my coach, Christian, right? You look at someone like Christian, and it's like you send him a message and he'll reply within like 5 minutes. So it's very much service driven. He wants to be fast on it, all of these different things. So I thought to myself, how can I tick as many of those boxes as possible so it's really hard for me to fail? So full transparency, and I don't recommend everyone does this because a lot of people won't be able to keep up with it. But I was like, I'm going to make sure I work more than someone else, harder than someone else. I learn more than the other people, and I just do fucking more so that I do so much stuff, something has to work. So a good example of that, right? This is a bit weird, but it just worked. I deliberately picked a gym that was half an hour away because I was like, that's an excuse to listen to a podcast for half an hour on the way there and an excuse to listen to a podcast half an hour on the way back. Then I thought to myself, right, every time I gain a client, I'm going to put 10% of that payment away and I'm going to accumulate that each month. And whatever that number is, I'm going to find a course and I'm going to go into that course. So it was almost like this like obsessive, compulsive fucking thing of like, how can we be better? How can I improve? And I did that for a few years. And it definitely, I wouldn't say it fucked up my social life, but there were 2 years where like I didn't really do that much. Like I was a bit of a fucking hermit.
That's called being a bodybuilder, mate.
Oh yeah, literally. I was just living a Hollywood lifestyle. I was just fucking I was doing really, but it got to a point where it's actually now I've brought it back the other way and it's kind of nice. Like I genuinely work Monday to Friday now. Like I don't work Saturdays and Sundays anymore because we've now got like a team behind us. But in terms of like trying to become the best in like the gym, then the area, then everything else, I would just constantly think like, right, what can I do to be, it wasn't even really trying to compete with other people. It's like, if I wanted to be the worst coach possible, what would I do? Write a list of 15 things and then do all of the polar opposite things.
Yeah.
So that's such a good way to think about it because you can so easily say like what would make someone a really shit coach, but it's hard to put down like what is the absolute best thing when you're sort of first thinking of it. Yeah, I really like that strategy.
Totally. So like a good thing of it was like, right, if I wanted to be a shit coach, like I'd wake up at random times, check in at random times. I'd never educate myself. I'd never invest in myself. I'd never read books. And it's like, oh shit, here's my list. I need to fucking go and attack that. So yeah. But honestly, mate, I'll say with it, like I definitely wasn't perfect with it. Like I made a fuck ton of mistakes with it, but yeah, I definitely think one of the biggest things was, and you guys are awesome at this, just learn, be a sponge as much as you possibly can, and then have people around you that you can just pick their brains off.
Yeah, we do that all the time. We're just like bouncing different ideas off each other and that sort of thing, and it's really helpful. Like it's great, as you say, the courses and learning stuff there, but I think the best place to learn shit is say like, okay, I've gotten this thing from this course. I'm going to try it with client A, B, and C. Oh, it worked really well here. It was okay, but we had a couple of problems. This made them worse. That's interesting. Why has that happened? Sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. You know what? An interesting one that I don't see enough people talk about is learning about like human psychology. So there's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've read that book twice. Such a good book, man. Like you learn how to talk to anyone, and you're like, okay, put it this way. Funnily enough, I actually saw James Smith do this, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, "Fuck! I wish I'd like made this content before because it literally went viral." Is you go in the course and you ask something like really awkward. Like I think he asked for like a free coffee, and when you can do that in a social situation, any interaction feels way easier. You just ask people awkward shit. There was a point I was trying to make on that. What was I going to fucking like? I don't know. If you walking past someone in the street and be like, "You're right, mate," and they're just like, "Who the fuck are you? Do you mind if I borrow your car?" And they're like, no, fuck off. But you do that enough time and you no longer are afraid of rejection because every conversation is so much easier.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Jack literally posted about that today on his story, like the social psychology thing.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that like it's always interesting to me that like if you've done any kind of like generic fitness coaching course, like say if you want to be a football coach or an Olympic athlete coach or something like that, compared to like a bodybuilding coach or a physique coach or an online coach, the skills that they teach you to be that fitness coach are so much more diverse and incorporate so much more sports psychology than you see in online coaching. And it's like online coaching, what do you need to know? How to set macros and how much volume should someone do and a little bit about biomechanics. Like, yeah, cool, that's sweet. Like you've got the theoretical knowledge, but you lack that understanding of like, you know, how many coaches do you see where they're like, I told my client to do this and they just won't fucking do it. And it's like, well, yeah, because like, how did you deliver that information? Like, did you consult them on that information? Like, how many times has this happened with this client? And it's like, half the time you can ask that person, when was the last time you spoke to that client about anything other than coaching? And they'll be like, what do you mean? You're like, well, there you go. Like, you've got a client, but you've got absolutely no rapport with them. So yeah, 100%. I think knowing how to talk to people and like understanding why clients do things and why clients don't do things is so essential as a coach, because you're trying to get people to do things. You can't force them to do it.
Yeah, so true, man. So true. Like, you know, I always say this to clients like 24/7, you know, it's so important that we understand the results and relationship bell curve. And that if you have one thing and without the other, then it's fucked. Because if you've got a great relationship with them, but they're getting no result, it's going to feel like you've got to rent a friend. But if you're getting a great result with them and no relationship, then it's just going to feel like you're just going to use them for a transformation and then you're done. So exactly what you said there, Nate, just building that rapport, building that relationship, building that trust, and then you can actually start to really get a little bit deeper into, okay, what's the root cause of this issue? Why does this keep happening? You know, what is it that's causing this to you know, be an issue? You know, a great example of that is back in the day, I remember when I used to PT someone like face to face. And, you know, I remember first programming him, and then he would always skip his leg days. And I thought it was because he hated leg days. And I started talking to him about football, and he always went to the football on Saturdays. I'm like, of course you fucking skip leg day on Saturday. You would rather go to the football and drink pints. I'm a fucking idiot. So it's like looking at the whole picture and going, right, that doesn't make sense for that person. Let's change it. So yeah, the deeper you go into that, man, it's so fascinating.
I think there's always a big disconnect between like coaches and clients, because if you're trying to make a career, like you kind of touched on there, like if you're a coach, you love training so much that you've made it a career. So it's like as soon as you take a fresh face coach and you introduce them to this person's going to pay you money, but they're not as into lifting as you, so they're not going to do everything that you say. They're like, what the fuck do you mean that you wouldn't like you'd rather like go play football or watch the football instead of like train legs? Like just wake up earlier. Oh, you come in late on a Friday, suck it up. Like that's what I'd do. Why don't you do that? And it's like the disconnect between some coaches versus some clients. It is like they're worlds apart, and it's like they're not a coach. They're not making a career out of it. They're not as invested as you. They're paying you to tell them what to do because they can't be asked to look into it themselves. So yeah, I think like you said, understanding that client and going, oh, okay, he just like you didn't try and go like, oh mate, you don't want it bad enough, wake up earlier, or just fucking, or just miss the football every other week. You're like, no, how can I find a way to work around this? Because if I don't do it, he'll find someone else, and they'll do it for them. Or realistically, how important is his progress here? How much is he actually going to miss out if I just put legs on a Friday?
Yeah.
Like, especially the more advanced person you're dealing with. Like maybe if you're dealing with someone that used to go to Slimming World or something like that, okay, then they probably don't know what to do. But the more advanced person you're dealing with, they know what they should do. He probably knows that he should train legs, but going to the football on the Saturday is more important to him. So it's our job to then work around that, not say, oh mate, you just don't want it bad enough. Like fuck off the football, just never go again.
Yeah, so true. I think another thing of that as well is understanding, like, from your client's perspective, where is dopamine within your coaching process?
Mm-hmm.
AKA, someone's booked a call with you. Oh, this is really exciting. They've joined on board. This is really exciting. They've got their plan. This is really exciting. And then, let's say if we're talking about someone who's general population, we all know that we probably don't need to change someone's program constantly. But if you were to take someone in Gen Pop through MEV, MRV, looking for these different areas, it's like, fuck, this is exciting. I'm learning new stuff. I've got this novelty. There's a placebo effect added to it. And it's like, I think I always use Oppenheimer, that quote from Oppenheimer with what's the fucking, it's annoying me that I can't remember the thing now. Theory will only get you so far.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in front of a client or in front of another human being, just coach that human being in front of you. Like, don't coach the science, coach the person. And I think that's when you're going to get your best results.
Mate, 100%. Like, could not agree more. Like, theory is great until someone says, I don't want to do that. And then it's like, your job as a coach isn't just to apply theory, because like ChatGPT can give you theory. Like realistically, like if you wanted to find it, you can quite quickly find theory. How many sets should I do? Bosh, do this. What is the best exercise for this? Bosh, there you go. Right, you can find an answer for that question. But if you don't like the answer, that's where the nuance of coaching comes in. It's like if you Google like what's the best sources to eat as a vegetarian, and it's like meat, and you're like, well, what do I do now? And it's like, if you're a coach who does that as well, you're just as bad as ChatGPT, and they're just going to fuck off and go somewhere else, and go to someone who's better and can work around that person.
Yeah,
that's jokes. And what about on the like more mentoring side of thing? Then, what do you feel? Do you feel like there can be a disconnect between mentoring coaches and like what they're expecting to get out of the process?
I hear that, man. You know what? So, are you saying like, where is there a disconnect in between somebody joining on board, going through the mentorship, and not getting a result? Or let me know what you mean by that, mate.
Well, I guess what we were talking about there is like differences between what the client values and expects out of the process versus what the coach does, and then the same sort of thing, because there's so many parallels to it. Like the one that springs to mind is it's a long game, like it's a physique. It's not you're gonna change your Instagram bio and you've got 20 clients tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So I think, to be honest with you, a big thing that we've been focusing on recently is very much treating somebody's business as if they were a physique client, in the sense of there are specified phases and there are specified blocks for things. Because I think what often happens is, and this is before I say this, I'm friends with lots of mentors and a lot of them are fucking great. So I don't want to be like, everyone's shit, because I don't want to be one of those guys. However, a mistake I see is join on board, group of 400 people, right, here's 20 videos, oosh, good luck, mate. And it's like, whoa, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, where do I go? What's what frameworks do I need? What content do I need? Like, how do I run everything? Like, I'm overwhelmed. What the fuck? I'm gonna die. So let's not do that. Instead, it's just kind of sitting down and going like, right, what do I want my business to look like, and what plan do I need to set in place for the next 12 months in order to get there? Then what it's a case of doing is almost planning. This is going to sound weird. Planning for your plan to fail. So setting out a 12-year business plan, going, this is where I want to get to, this is where I'd like clients to be, this is who I want to work with, these are changes I'd like to make, these are additions I want to do. Okay, well, what happens if that doesn't happen? Right, where are the potential fuck-ups? Is it going to be the time of the year? Is it going to be the people I'm going to talk to? Is it going to be time? Is it going to be finances? Like, what's it going to be? Addressing those root causes, and then really figuring out, like, right, me as an individual, what skills do I need to be looking into? AKA, do I understand what marketing actually is and how that works? Okay, maybe I don't. Right, we need to look into that area. Am I putting out content that's landing with people? Well, actually, if I look back at my content, these 3 posts were fantastic. They performed really well. And then these 3 here were fucking shit. Right, what did I do in those 3? Who was I talking to? What problems were I solving? You know, how am I presenting myself? You know, when I post these stories as opposed to these stories, what is working and what isn't working? And this is the unique thing about like what we've been doing here, and the thing that I've been enjoying the most is the fact that when you break it down, people's coaching businesses, it seems like coaches all do the same thing, but every coach is so fucking different because we're all our own person and we've all got our own skills and weaknesses and strengths, all these different things. So I think to answer your question, dude, one of the biggest things are stripping everything back, getting very raw and real with yourself, being willing of the fact that we're all shit at certain things. I'm going to hold my hands up. Up until last year, I was shocking at email. Now, if we send you an email and you open it, we know you've opened it, and you're going to get a different fucking email to the people that didn't open the first one. Like, we're looking at some high level shit now, which is kind of cool, and like it's fun that I can nerd out on that kind of stuff. Before, I didn't even know how to automate an email. Do you know what I mean? And you probably don't need that, but anyway, my point is understanding what you want, where you're falling down, where you're not improving, and then running the business the way that you want to run it so that you can be authentic within the industry. Otherwise, you end up turning into one of those people that, no offense to anyone who does this, every 2 to 3 weeks, I'm looking for 5 people. No, you're fucking not. Learn how to market properly. You're not doing it right. You know? So
that's true. It's true, though.
The thing is, I've actually, like, with those posts, right, I understand why they work and I understand why people post them and I understand the scarcity behind it. That kind of scarcity is actually quite a low hanging fruit in terms of tactics. Because realistically, if you go, I'm looking for 5 people, it's like, okay, well, you said that to me last week or you said that to me last month. If it's like, right, I've actually gone away and I've built a new fucking program, right, what's the problem? Right, lots of my clients are really struggling when it's coming to their biomechanic knowledge. Okay, cool. So we've set up a program where in the middle of the fucking program, we all meet up in person and I teach this shit to you. And as we're going through it, we're going to layer education and we're going to layer webinars across the span so that you actually learn something here. It's going to take us 16 weeks in order for you to become a lot more skilled at this. Okay, cool. Right, now let's build that. Now let's work out how to market it. Who am I talking to? What content do I need? Is it going to go on email? Meh. Is it going to go on Facebook? Maybe. Is it going to go on Instagram? Yes. What do I need to build up towards then? What kind of conversations do I need to be having? And then suddenly you're actually running a business as opposed to, I'm bored and I want to earn more money. Yes, I'm working for 6 people, I reckon, this time. Yeah, that'll do. It's like, fuck off.
You're working for 6 people.
yeah. yeah. Oh, it's been a long day. But do you get what I mean? Like, it's actually like understanding what it like. I think when people dive deeper into like the businessy side of stuff, which most coaches don't really care that much about, they just want to be a great coach and run a great coaching business, which is like, I rate that. But once you understand how a business should run and what kind of things you could use, you can bin off a lot of like very basic tactics that I see and focus less on tactics and more actually on reputation. Because, you know, you can probably think of a few coaches, right? I mean, I can't really name any off the top of my head, but let's say I say, right, think of 3 coaches that you think have got a fucking great reputation. You can probably think of 3 people. They've got a great reputation because they don't build their business off of tactics. They build their business off of care for the shit and love for the shit and care for their clients and doing the right thing and being fucking consistent with it and showing up, you know, and just being decent human beings. And that's why I think that there are so many fucking great coaches out there that maybe aren't reaching who they want to reach because either they're scared to look at the business stuff in fear of being judged or in fear that other people are going to think that they're a twat or in fear that it's going to fail, or it's just a case of they've not been doing it long enough or being consistent with it long enough. You know, Luke, I said to you about a year ago, I said your potential is fucking wild, mate, and I still back that. It is fucking wild, the potential you have. And, you know, you guys are kind of constantly investing into education and, you know, doing 70 podcasts, not to go on a big ramble, but I like rambling. You know, the fact that you've made 70 podcasts is fucking sick. Mate, I do business coaching. I've done 8. That's pathetic. So good on you.
To be fair, we usually think of the topic on the day, so there's not much prep in it.
Well, you know, you're still doing it though, aren't you?
And what about like where you're at personally? Like what's been going on this year? Because you were planning to compete, but you've had sort of some stuff come up and that's set you back a bit.
Mate,
and
my life
has dealt with that.
Yeah, mate, my life has been roller coaster. So I did a big juicy off season. I got the heaviest I've ever got in my entire life. I tell you what, I don't advise people who are natty going up to 215 pounds. It's not fun. I was a fat.
Popularise that phrase, please. Big juicy off season.
Big juicy season. Mate, I had large voluptuous tits. You would have loved me, Luke. It was great.
I was literally about to say big juicy off season feels like it should be across your chest or across your arse, like on some clothing or something in sequins.
Oh mate, okay. Hold on. I'm genuinely gonna write that down. That's a great idea. Or I can just listen to this back. But yeah, I had a big fucking juicy off season, and I'm definitely making that into a t-shirt. And what do we call it? Yeah, so went to Dubai for like 3 weeks just because it's fun. Came back and kicked off the dieting phase. God, how deep was I into prep? I was only about 4 weeks into prep. Things were going really well. Like the first 4 weeks, we all know about the whoosh effect. I must have lost maybe 10 pounds in 4 weeks. I was like, nice, good start. We're off to a good start. And I woke up one morning and it felt like I had like the worst wind I've ever had in my entire life. Got a little bit worse. I was like, okay, this isn't fun. Went to the toilet and I literally just like collapsed. And I started, this is going to sound a little bit weird, started having a fucking seizure, mate. I only know that because I got woken up by my mum and she was like, what the fuck? So thankfully I was fucking, she was about. But anyway, rushed into hospital. Turns out that my appendix had burst and like, oh, okay, well, you need surgery like now. So they're like running around, like dosing me with morphine constantly. I had another seizure, which was a lot of fun. And basically they were like, yeah, so we have no surgeons here, so we're going to have to put you to another hospital. So I'm like laying there thinking, fuck, get this thing out of me. Like, what the fuck? There was a 3-hour delay to go to the hospital. So in that 3 hours, it was like the most drugs, just like you can fucking imagine, just constantly pumped in.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Not in a good
way. You never know, maybe.
Yeah, that's a story for another time. But lots of stuff just pumped in. I was like, nice. I mean, I do like a good pumping, but this was not a good type of pumping. And so I got transferred over. And when I got to St. Helier, the hospital was literally full. They put me in the hallway. So I was laying in the hallway and all of the drugs wore off. And I'm going to be honest with you, I fucking cried. I literally thought I was going to die. Like I was convinced. I was like, this is it. I'm going to die. This is how I die. And I was just like a doctor and I was like, fucking someone help me. And no one was helping me and I was just panicking. To cut a long story short, I actually saw my client who is a paramedic and he was like, what the fuck is going on? He just happened to be working there. He gave me a hand, absolute G, fed me biscuits, which I was like, I don't want biscuits, I want drugs, all right?
That needs to go on a t-shirt as well.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't want biscuits, I want drugs.
It's a gold mine today, mate. Jesus.
Absolute gold mine. Oh, fucking hell. So anyway, yeah, cut a long story short, supposed to have surgery that day. I had to sleep on it because there were no surgeons there this evening. That was the worst night's sleep of my life, as you can probably imagine, with my appendix inside of me. It actually got removed almost 24 hours after it burst, and they say that you've got a 24-hour window to remove it. So I was like on the fucking cusp. So the recovery was slow, like fucking hell. The first few days, like, was wild. I was in so much pain. Week went past. We then had our Marbella retreat. I was told I can't fly, so I did the honourable thing and I flew.
Respect.
Which was retarded, but first two gays, massive regret. Next 2 gays was great, but what am I talking about? Oh, today's been so long. Anyway, to cut a long story short, started to recover, did the retreat, everything went fine and dandy. Rob Lipsett came, that was cool. He's so sound, like the soundest guy I'd ever met. So that happened, and then off the back of that, I didn't train at all for 4 weeks. No training, none whatsoever. They said to me, don't train before the 8-week mark. I honestly felt like I was going fucking insane. So I just trained arms and shoulders from week 5 and 6 because I was like, well, it's all right.
What's going to happen?
It's fine. I mean, I might die, but I'd rather die with big arms than die with small arms. So I was like, if I'm going to die, then may as well die with a pump, So I literally trained arms and shoulders like 3 times a week for a few weeks. That's all I did. Then into chest, then into back, blah, 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 blah. The last 3 weeks, my training's been somewhat normal. And I'm now like, I can get back to dieting. I can get back to training. I won't be competing this year because I've essentially lost like 7 weeks. But I do want to get as lean as I can over the next like 8 to 10 weeks. So the goal is literally get nice and lean, start to reverse back out again. Back end of the year, we got a few trips as well, which actually just coincide nicely. We got Ibiza for a stag do, which I'm genuinely scared. Like, I'm literally scared. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for itself. Anyway, yeah. So we got that, and then after that, we got our next event at the back end of the year, and then into a gaining phase. But to cut a long story short, everything is great. So yeah, that's was that your question? I can't remember what your question was.
Yeah, mate, nailed it. Literally every question that I thought of to ask you off the back of it, you then proceeded to cover that.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, really, really good, mate. And I'm glad that you are doing a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, at least you're okay, man. Long story short, like, ultimately, as long as you're okay, that is what matters most. It's a pretty good reason for not prepping. I think that's a valid one for dropping out 4 weeks in.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like you didn't want it bad enough to me.
I didn't want it bad enough.
You should have pulled it out yourself, mate. Just get in there, rip it out.
I wonder how many calories is in an appendix.
I'm so googling.
I was going to say, I wonder how much it weighs. Like, that could have been an easy rate of loss boost.
Yeah.
Just rip it off.
What I could have done is, like, where I'd fallen behind is I just, like, each few weeks I just select another organ and just remove that.
Yeah, exactly. Show up on stage fat, but it'd be like, I dropped 50 pounds though, guys.
Exactly. Like, do you need every rib? Do you need 2 kidneys? I mean, we don't know the answers until we try.
You definitely don't need every rib. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, fuck sure.
We've discovered a problem. Appendix is also used to categorize a lot of information, so it's confused.
Oh.
Like, as in, like, when it's like a list of stuff. Yeah, it's not sure what's going on and can't work it out. But it says it weighs a couple of ounces, so
okay.
We'll go.
Poor rate of loss there. Unfortunate.
Yeah. What about kidney? How much does that weigh?
They're pretty expensive. I'd probably sell them.
Morphine you've had at this point, man. Jesus.
I feel like, you know what? I actually googled this about 6 months ago because I saw somebody's bio was doesn't cost the price of a kidney or something like that, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm pretty certain a kidney was like a few thousand, and I was like, well, I would have hoped that your coaching wouldn't cost a few thousand because that's ridiculous. Yeah. So yeah, definitely perplexed.
Sorry to cut you off. I remember everyone doing the cup of coffee a day thing. Oh, for less than a cup of coffee a day, as if people really go out like every single day and spend like a $5 on because coffee is so expensive now. I'm sure some people do, but like most people who are going to object to your price aren't the ones going out and being like, oh, a lunchtime coffee, yeah, $5, mate.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like when it comes to anything with an expense, it's very, very, very much like a value thing. Yeah, and I think when someone's like deciding on something, there's almost like 7 elements. I mean, I won't go too deep into it, but there's like 7 elements of like a trust system. And if you tick every single element of like a trust system of like, if they value it enough, if they want it enough, if they feel like it's got, proof of a product or whatever it may be, then they'll go, right, I'm going to buy it. Okay, think of it this way, right? You can use this for your next consultation call in case you're like, oh, fuck, they didn't want it bad enough. When you walk into a shop to buy a Mars bar or to buy a chocolate bar or whatever, I mean, what's your favorite chocolate, boys?
Ooh, Crunchy's up there, I can't lie.
Would you say a cheese bar?
Crunchy. He said crunchy.
Oh, I thought you said a cheese bar. I was like, what the fuck? Wow. Okay, crunchy. Okay, nice. Rogue. Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Jack, mate, we need a chocolate from you, otherwise we can't move on with the story.
I'll go for an Aero mint. Why not? I've been enjoying mint recently, so.
Nice. Some very rogue answers. I like it. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go with Snickers just because they're great. You know what? My uncle once bought me a Crunchy, and it was 1 meter long. I was about 6 years old, and it was 1 meter long. And I thought, wow, what a guy. So he's brought it in. I'm 6. It's probably taller than I am. And I remember it was Christmas, and we're like, hey, oh my God, it's a Crunchy. It's a meter. Whoa, amazing. And it was like pictures of it and Polaroids and all kind of shit. And I'll never forget, just deadpan, turning around, bearing in mind he just bought me this thing, and everyone was like buzzing, like, way, what a great present. You're 6. Yay, have a giant Crunchy. And I just looked at him straight in the eye, and I was like, I hate Crunchy. And he was like, oh. I feel so bad about that.
Oh, mate.
I'm such an asshole.
Nah, you're at that age where I've got a story like that, but nowhere near as exciting. But basically, someone like bought me a toy when I was a kid, when I was like 5 or 6, and I was like, oh, I've already got this, and just dropped it. And it's like, mate, I look back, I feel so bad. Like, but you're a kid. Like, I don't know what it is. When it's Christmas and you're a kid, you're just like, I got shit last year, so I'll get shit this year. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
I remember one year for my birthday, I really wanted a scooter because I was like at the age where everyone started to get a scooter. So I obviously said this to my parents, and my mum, legend that she is, goes to one up it and go, I won't just get him like a normal scooter, I'll get him like an electric one because they're faster. And I was so disappointed. I was like, no, I just wanted a basic scooter that I can do tricks on and shit.
Oh,
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you got to be careful with those bad boys, don't you?
mate, you know what?
It was when like electric scooters were like fucking huge as well.
They're chunky boys. They're proper chunky boys. They have done a big juicy off season, mate. I'll tell you what. Talking about big juicy off seasons, did you guys used to watch not Thomas the Tank Engine, Teletubbies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the Teletubby like pancakes with like the smiley faces on them.
Yeah.
I remember having a tantrum in the middle of Asda because we couldn't find them. I was fuming. All I wanted was like,
well, in and off season you had a tantrum, or was that in prep?
yeah, it was a few months ago, mate. I remember being a kid, like when I was a kid, I used to always play hide and seek in Asda, and it would always end up being over the tannoy that like my mum was looking for me, and I was like, hee hee hee. And like, I knew like the more security looked for me, the better I'd done. I was a fucking prick when I was a kid. I was an absolute like I'd see multiple security, like yes. I'd like, I don't know, I was an absolute dickhead. I remember
like I had to call in reinforcements.
Literally, yeah. You know, like in GTA when like there's one police car and then multiple like tanks and helicopters.
Stars, yeah.
That was like my mindset when I was 5 years old. Like the more people looking for me, the better I've done. Like I remember literally like a police officer with a fucking hat and he had truncheon and all this kind of shit, like pulling me out of like a clothes arm, was like, oh, there he is. But yeah, anyway. What were we talking about before then?
The crunchy.
You
talked about the crunchy. Oh, you were talking about
are we like so that you could sell it to us, like it's
value.
A pen in your drawing book.
Oh, value. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So like realistically, there's different like trust systems that need to be kind of almost ticked off before you go through things. So realistically, like if you don't understand, you know, how long someone's been trying to do something or why they've been failing at it, or, you know, what's been a difficulty in the past, or it's, how do I explain it? You're not trying to be like, oh yeah, let me find your pain and fucking twist a knife, because then you're just being an asshole. But it's like really understanding like what is the root cause here? How long have you been trying to do it? Like, you know, what's the real frustration? Then realistically, like when someone's jumping on a call with you, they how do I explain this? They want to work with you, but no one likes being sold to, because that sucks. Like no one, if you walk into a shop and someone goes, do you need a hand, mate? It's rare you go, yeah, actually I do. Even if you want a hand, we all do it. Like, you know, when I was younger, I'd walk into Holland and Barrett and I want to get some cod liver rolls. Don't shop there. It's fucking shit. Apart from maybe like two things. I want some cod liver rolls. And I know I want cod liver rolls. And I walk in and I'm like, looking around. And then the person's like, hello, mate, do you need a hand? And my brain's like, you do need a hand, but don't admit it. And I'm like, no, I'm all right, cheers, mate. And I just continue being confused because people hate being sold to that much. I'd rather not know what I'm doing than ask for help. Why do we do it? It's fucking weird, isn't it?
Mate, I think it's that disconnect again, like that coach-client disconnect. Because like every coach, you know, or people who start coaching, they update the bio, online coach, space is now available. Brilliant, mate. Good start.
50 clients in the door.
Yeah, and then you're done, and then you retire, and that's what me and Luke didn't know. But but then they're like, you know, talk to someone. They're like, your progress is shit. In nicer words, let me help you. And then the person's like, all right, what do you do? And you're like, I'll give you quicker progress. And they're like what? Like, be specific. That's the thing. It's like some coaches can't understand. It's like, what do you mean? I give you faster progress. Like, what don't you get? But if you know you've got Brenda who's trying to lose weight because she's been trying for her entire life. She's, you know, resigned herself to, I'm never going to be below 17 stone. I'm just going to be this way for life. And you go, Brenda, there is a way around it. I've helped other people. Here's how I help people. That's so much more impactful, and she'll value you more than if you say, oh yeah, I like help people tone up a little bit.
Totally.
And it's not even just that it's a salesy thing. It's like, if you don't know what's causing them issues, you don't know if you can help with it, and definitely not how to help them.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, it's,
you know, if you're doing any kind of conversation call I do, I'm aiming to shut up as much as I possibly can. Like, I'll jump onto a call and like, oh, hey, how's your day? Like, right, what do you need? What do you want? And I'm just going to shut up and listen. And then I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So you mentioned this. Can you go a little bit deeper into that? Yeah, so oh, okay, that's cool. How long have you been trying this for? Oh, okay, right, that's interesting. And it's just like, we're just professional problem solvers. That's a massive element of coaching, you know.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, perfect example, this morning we were talking about time management. It's something that we all struggle with at times, like our clients do, we do, and stuff like that. But like, realistically, when you break down what time management actually is and like why we avoid stuff like that, it's a lot of the time poor time management is just like glorified procrastination, and it's usually a result of either you're feeling anxious about something, bored of something, or you're rebelling against it. You know, if you're feeling anxious about something, a massive reason for that is just simply because of the fact that, you know, you feel like you're going to be a fucking idiot if you don't know the answer to it. Or if you're rebelling against something, it's because it's not the norm for you. Have you guys read Atomic Habits?
Yeah, parts of it.
Yeah.
So
I haven't finished it. I will. I promise I will finish it.
Yeah.
Procrastinating it clearly.
Yeah, mate, it's a very good book. It's a very, very good book. And, you know, to be honest with you, it could even be the reason you've not finished that could just be boredom. It's not fully engrossing you and kind of enticing.
Oh, yeah, I fucking hate reading. Like,
yeah,
mate, you've seen my stories. Come on. You know the state of that. I read it back twice. Yeah, there's no spelling mistakes. Jack messages me. You said dick instead of elbow. Right.
Yeah, but like you misspelt your own name, mate, and your own business, by the way. You know, you called yourself Lake.
Oh, mate, yeah. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Mate, I feel like one of the best, like, kind of to round off like what you were saying before and tack on a little bit, like one of the best tricks I ever used as a coach, and like I always tell coaches to do this, is whenever you get on a consultation, just say what didn't work before and what worked this time. That is the quickest way to being like, I've worked with 5 coaches and you're the only one that's clicked. This is brilliant. It's like, well, yeah, because I've just asked what didn't work before and I've just avoided that. They're like, oh, my last coach had me doing so much cardio and I hate cardio. You're like, oh, okay, well then cool, you know, but I was going to give you an hour of cardio. Now I'm not, you know, and it's like, you could almost skip the trial and error. Or it's like, you know, oh, my last coach just like, when we benched, it went so well, but he just took bench out for no reason, you know, and I was really enjoying it. And he said I was dieting, so I couldn't have it. And I was like, okay, well, now I know what you want. And like little tricks like that, like you said on a consultation call, where you're kind of letting them tell you everything that you need, is fantastic. It builds rapport, but also, yeah, just saying like, what didn't work before, so I don't fucking do that to you. If you sign up a client and you've got no idea what didn't work before, then you're just going to give them, there's a good chance you're going to randomly land on exactly what didn't work before, and then you've just put them in the same position and they've paid for it and they're going to be really pissed off.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. Really, really, really good point. I think, like you said there, going into things like, right, what happened before? What didn't you enjoy? What did you feel like it was missing?
Yeah.
So make sure that as you're going through this, right, we need to note that down. We need to avoid that. We need to make sure that we can give you, you know, what you need and what you want. So, yeah, man, very good point.
Right, I reckon we round off with a couple of quicker fire questions. But thank you so much. Thank you so far, mate. There we go. That's what I was going to say. Aside from like sports psychology, what do you think we're not talking about enough in the industry?
Ooh, fuck.
That could be physique coaching or more business coachy stuff.
I've got a cheeky one, but I'll let.
No, mate, you're not allowed to answer. This isn't your podcast. Fuck off.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, Luke.
What I think is missing is learning great communication skills. I think that's like being a great listener, learning great communication skills, understanding how to communicate with people both in person and online. And that actually holds a lot of people back from chatting to people online, because they're scared they kind of come off as a dick or salesy or whatever it may be. But, you know, it's just like dating. Put it this way, right? Let's say you've just helped someone out, and we use the analogy of you're in a bar and you see a girl that you like. Imagine going up to the girl that you like and you're like, oh, hey, you like introduce yourself, you buy them a drink, and then you just fuck off again. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
She'll come to me, mate.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, you don't have to be jumping into everyone and be like, I was going to dive on the thing then, but I'm not going to. Be like, hey, do you want to buy my shit? Like, fuck off. If you can always be connecting to people and actually be a human being, then I think like great communication skills is something that's either not being talked about enough or not being looked into enough.
Agreed, mate. 1,000% agreed.
Jack, what's yours, mate?
Literally that, but more along the lines of like emotional labor and the like, if you're a coach and you're constantly putting on a facade to talk to people, because I think people get like dopamine and being bubbly and engaging with clients. I think people do it too much, and they're like, you know, yeah, maybe if you've got like 20, 30 clients, you can get away with every single check-in being like, drink a monster, let's fucking go, guys, this is great, this is sick. But if you're not able to keep someone interested or engaged and communicate, like George was saying, in a more honest and more kind of yeah, without being like super duper like you're a fucking Fortnite YouTuber and like everything's super exciting in your alley A, right? If you can't, you know, give check-ins and feedback and keep people engaged in that format as yourself, you're going to burn out as a coach. So I guess, yeah, basically what you said, communication skills. But I think too many people are trying to be like YouTubers about it, and they're like, oh, they get one check-in a week from me, I need to be fucking amped. And it's like, no, you need to be engaging, but you don't need to be like so amped that you're dodging client messages and calls and face to like one-to-ones because you're like, oh, I have to fucking put on the mask, you know.
Totally, totally. Being a human being with your clients and building rapport is just fucking everything,
Yeah,
man.
be yourself and you'll attract people who like you for you. I've got like, I'm sure we've all got clients where like we have TV shows in common, we have hobbies in common, we have music in common, and then like, or they like have similar issues to us. Like, I've lost track of how many clients I've got with shit digestion because I've got shit digestion. Like, you attract what you are, and like if you put on a facade of like, you know, I'm like this, then you're just going to attract that, and it builds a barrier between you and your client base. And
Is that why all my clients are short?
we should poll our clients genuinely.
Yeah, find out their height.
No, poll yours against Tom Taylor's and see if there's an
Yeah,
actual height
mate,
disparity.
I bet there's a fucking relationship there for sure, for sure.
I've had
You
people say
mentioned,
they're coached by Tom because they're over 6 foot. Like a lot of people I've talked to.
you mentioned a lot about like education across the call. What would you say are like the three most influential people or places that you'd recommend people go to learn a bit more about that?
That is a fucking great question.
You're both allowed to plug yourselves as well.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
Yeah,
go on,
to
Jack.
George. Go to George.
There's so many areas I've learned from, man. Because like I don't know if you guys know Ben Bukowski or remember Ben Bukowski when he had like the Muscle Expert podcast. Like those are the first podcasts I ever listened to. So that started that off. It was then Muscle Mentors. It was then 3DMJ, and then later on to that, I kind of started looking into like the mentoring space. Fuck me, like there are so many people stuff that I watch now. You know what? Okay, really randomness. There is somebody called Bedros Keuilian, which when I say his name, most people have never heard of him.
I know who he is, yeah.
He's like the godfather of business. That guy is fucking smart. If you want to learn business, Bedros, and I'm not afraid to shout him out and whatever. I've never worked. I've never worked with a guy one-to-one. I've worked with a few different people one-to-one, but he's fucking brilliant. He's really, really good. And I think he speaks a lot of sense. He's like, if you think of Andrew Tate and then like the not twatty version, that's basically, he talks about like masculinity and all that stuff, but it actually makes fucking sense. So yeah, I think that guy's great. But all the other guys like 3D Muscle Journey, Muscle Mentors, fucking Ben Bukowski, all my coaches, like, you know, Christian's been fucking great help. So yeah, and then AJ Morris obviously kicks it all off. So those would be my things. But then equally, I know this isn't a person, but do not be afraid to get around people and just fucking ask them shit. Just like you guys are saying, just get around people and just ask them stuff. That's been huge.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like I ask Luke stupid questions all the time. Sometimes I ask Luke or Tom questions where I'm like, if they screenshotted this and put it on their story, that's so fucking embarrassing. Because sometimes you have to be like, right, am I right here? They're like, this is day one shit, but can I just double check this? Like, am I being an idiot? Because if I am being an idiot, I do want to know, you know. But sometimes you do just have to like question yourself or really break apart your thought process. Like ask advanced shit, but I think, you know, people get stuck in their own biases as well. So it's always important to like, me and Luke have definitely asked each other in questions where we're like, mate, are you all right? What the fuck? Are you really asking me that question? Yes, of course.
It's because everyone's so afraid to be wrong.
Yeah.
They then end up with, like, I make fun of shit now that I thought was a good idea 2 years ago because I think it's a bad idea now. I've got no qualms with thinking I did stupid shit. Everyone does stupid shit. But then, like, now everyone gets into arguments about shit on the internet and they're like, no, I'm right because I'm right.
It's almost good to
that's
like,
not a reason.
It's almost good to reflect back and cringe a little bit because it kind of shows you're growing. You know, if you look back and you're like, oh yeah, I was 100% dead on. Maybe you can be like majority right if you're really bang on. But like, if you look back and you're really like, I was 100% dead on, you know, it's very rare. Like, I think most people, you should be looking back. Like, George, I'm sure you can agree. Like, you look back and probably like mistakes that you made as a PT, a coach, or even as a mentor early on, you'd be like, oh, I really wouldn't have done that now, you know.
100%. And, you know, I think a massive element of that is trying as best you can just to put your ego to one side and be willing to try and fail at stuff, you know. There's only really one guarantee in business, and that is the fact that shit's going to fail at times. And I think also thinking bigger than the fitness industry, I think we can live in this bubble as coaches and think, right, I have to talk to coaches or look at coaches or read coaching. There was a restaurant I went to, I'll see if I can remember the name of it after this podcast, but completely lost me. And we had such a great experience there, and it was such a huge restaurant. At the end, I said, you know, is the manager in or whatever? And they brought him out, and I said, how do you maintain the standards in this restaurant? It's fucking amazing. And he sat and he had a 10-minute conversation with me, and I found that so interesting because they had about 40 staff members in there, and I thought, those aren't the kind of conversations you'd see on Instagram.